Hey boys and girls, welcome back to Bitch I Ain't Scared! Episode 4. I am Nathaniel. I haven't introduced myself in a while.
Yeah.
Nathaniel, the fool.
And I'm Rob, the scholar.
Totally forgot about that. Really? Who are these people?
I know. No, I think they have somewhat of an idea of who we are now. But it's funny that you say that, though, because this is what I like about podcasts. So we're at the 4th episode. We're practically famous and blowing up at this point. But I can still go to the store and not be recognized and pummeled with all of my fans because nobody knows what I look like just yet. So that's what's so lovable about the podcast thing. And yeah, I'm totally joking. We're not that blown up yet, but we are getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, the moment we start doing video, I don't think they're going to be able to keep their hands off of us. They're going to be all over us like, oh, it's the Bitch I Ain't Scared boys. It's the Fear Bias boys.
Absolutely. The Bias boys are in the house. So, again, I'm, being a control freak and I'm driving Rob crazy. But I just wanted to make sure, we touch base on a lot of different things because we do have interests in more than just films. Of course, the majority of what we talk about, I feel, is film and television because that's probably what people easily relate to. That is what people are drawn to right off the bat. But I personally love to read. I don't read as much as I did when I was in school. High school, middle school, really. College, I was too busy doing homework. But I do try to make it a point now to read books. And recently, I'd say within the last 3 months, I read a couple of books that were, on the tip of the horror genre. So I wanted to share my feelings and thoughts with you.
For me, this is just tagging along for the ride. I'll just be sitting in the back seat, hanging out, listening. Maybe I'll hear something cool from these books. I wish I had the I can't think of the word, just the skill to just keep my attention with books. I don't know why books just did not click with me when I was younger, and I just was never able to just get through an entire book. It's just been always more visual for me, and it's just something I could never break. I will say this: the one horror book that I did read was I Know What You Did Last Summer, which technically is a book before the movie, and a lot of people don't know this. Is that yeah, that movie didn't come out of thin air. Yeah, somebody actually wrote that. I forget who wrote it. But
Lois Duncan.
Look at that. Look at him.
Who is not a fan of the film.
Really?
No.
That's good to know.
Because we can get on some real life shit right now. So Lois Duncan's daughter was murdered.
Oh, okay.
In real life. So when they made her story into a slasher film, it was just very upsetting to her. It reminded her of real life. So hey, if you don't have the proper channels to go through, maybe you shouldn't do it. I'm looking at you, Lifetime, with your bad Aaliyah story movie.
God, don't even get me started on those.
Sorry.
But it was just funny that because this movie was a book first, in high school we had to do a book report, and one of the rules was you cannot do a book that is from a movie.
Oh.
And I presented this to her and I said, this book came out before the movie, so it counts. And she was like, I better see some difference from that movie instead of the book.
There is a difference,
and there is
though.
a difference, yes.
Difference.
And I aced my book report too, so, but
nice.
Yeah, that's probably one of the horror books that I, read. And then, of course, Goosebumps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's probably, for some reason, I just couldn't get into the books. So,
well, and I think, yes. Did you see the movie before you read the book?
I did.
Okay, yeah, so that's the thing, though, because
I think that could have been part of it.
I don't remember if I read the book first, because it all happened at the same time. And I just don't remember. I think I read the book right before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
But I knew that there was a difference in the movie. I knew people died.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read this book, I was like, this is bland. Like, nothing's happening. Somebody gets shot and they live. The one thing that really made it from the book was when Helen throws herself out the window and lives. That's the one thing that translated. But it was a totally different person who was perpetrating these acts against the people. It was a different story. So it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's just the book that kind of stood out when I was younger, so thought I'd bring that up.
Nice. See, you read, Rob. Well, the first book I'm going to talk about is by an author who is no longer with us, Michael McDowell. And you'll be familiar with him because he is the screenwriter of Beetlejuice.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And I actually work with his sister. Hi, Anne. Maybe she's listening, maybe not. But she told me about this book, and it's a book about sand.
Like literal sand.
Sort of. It's not that simple. So, the book was written in 1981. So when I was reading it, I tried to transport myself to that time period, even though it's not that long ago. I tried to think of how it was then. And it's about this...
So wait a minute, what's the title? I'm sorry.
Oh, my God. Don't ask me to review books.
Yeah, you gotta tell people.
The Elementals.
Okay.
The Elementals.
Okay, The Elementals.
Yes. And, it's like, I'm reading this book and I'm like, why is this book called The Elementals? I don't understand. It's not saying anything. Because sand is an element? What? I don't understand. But it does get to that. So the book is about the Savage family, and they've had a loss recently. The matriarch of the family passes away. They're a very wealthy family in Alabama. And after they bury the mother, they decide to take a vacation to their family home. It's been in the family for like 200 years, since the Civil War. And it's on a small, sort of like an island called Beldam. And it's like, I don't know, so like a 3-hour drive outside of town. I think it's longer than that, actually. But you can get there in a day. And at night, the tide comes in and it turns it into an island. So you can drive on, but at night, tide comes on.
Oh, the road closes off.
Yes, the road closes off. You're on the island for the night. And it has 3 Victorian homes. They all look the same, but they face different directions.
Like a cul-de-sac. Like, do they look in or look sort of out?
They're sort of like the backs are facing each other.
Okay,
so
okay.
the fronts face the water.
Gotcha.
One faces like the lagoon, and the one that is farthest away from the drive-in is sort of submerged in sand. Half of it is submerged in sand. These are sort of like spoilers, so if you want to read this book, turn it off, go read the book, and in 2 weeks, I'll hear
Maybe
from you.
we'll put some timestamp marks so you can fast forward to
Maybe I won't, because that sounds like a lot of work, Rob.
So I said maybe, we'll see. But yeah.
I'm not going to give away big stuff,
Okay.
but yes. So this house is sort of submerged in the sand dune, and there's a young girl, the youngest member of the family. I can't remember her name right now. It escapes me.
Yeah.
But she's 13 years old, and she lives in New York with her father. Oh, and this is one part of the book I'm going to say, because people might read it and be like, what you talking about? You're crazy, Nathaniel. No, this character was gay. Her father was gay. And I also say that because the author, Mr. McDowell, was gay as well.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like he put this character in and he plants all these things where it's like, the daughter she's outspoken and she talks to her father like an adult. They live in New York, they're living their best life, and she'll be like, oh, well, you spend all your time at Fire Island all summer. And it's like, was Fire Island a thing back then? Was that where the gays went in 1981? I don't know. And then later in the book, it's like, I can't remember her father's name either. It's like this really weird, I should pull it up. It's like Wyatt or like Satchel. That's his name. I'm calling him Satchel for now.
We're gonna look this up. Satchel.
That's not his name.
I can't with Satchel. So
it's not Satchel at all. But there's this part where it's like, oh, he reconnected with an old high school friend, and he felt very satisfied afterwards. It was like, did you just tell us that these characters? I mean, we never see. It's like he passes over these moments.
Yeah.
He just like casually mentions them. I'm like, he's gay. He is gay, and I know it. But so most of the book takes place on the island, and the Savages also bring another family. They've been friends all their lives. My favorite character is Big Barbara. She's the matriarch of the in-laws, and she is what I saw in my head was what's his name from True Blood? Hoyt's mother.
Okay. Oh,
that's Big
that
Barbara.
woman. Yeah.
But she wasn't. I mean, she was a little more likable
Mm-hmm.
in this one. But the way she talked, I was like, that is Big Barbara, Mrs. Hoyt. It was just such good characterization. The way that he wrote the characters, I mean, I could hear these people talking. I could imagine them very vividly. And sometimes my mind does get lost when people describe environment to me.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I mean, when he would describe the island and the sand, I mean, sometimes my mind would like, oh, I gotta reread this because I get lost. It's the same thing that happened when I tried to read the first Lord of the Rings. He described a tree for like 2 pages, and I was like,
I can't do
I'm
this.
done.
Yeah.
I'll watch the movie. So when they get to the island, you know, this book was kind of a slow burn. Like, at the funeral in the beginning, something startling does happen, but it's not scary, really. It's just like, oh, it's shocking. And then when they get to the island, things slowly start to unfold.
Okay.
It isn't until, like, the end of the book that things really pop off. And I say, you know, it's about sand, and that's how Anne pitched it. She's like, it's about sand. It's the scariest book about sand. And I was like, all right, Anne, I'm going to read this. And it's not... It is the sand, and then it's not. It's like there's something in the sand.
So it is sort of a supernatural
It's
type
a very,
of story.
very
Okay.
supernatural spirits.
So like a haunted house thing?
And it's not a haunted house because
Okay.
they're not ghosts, but they can sort of like make you see things. They can look how they want.
Okay.
They can appear to you. There was one part that was confusing to me, and I should probably ask Anne to see if she knows, but there is a creature, I don't think he was the sand. There's something in the book, and I just didn't understand what he represented necessarily. There's a lot of, I would say that there's definitely a lot of undertone about it being set in the South.
Yeah.
There's one black character. Sure, you can imagine.
Yes.
But she is probably the character who she's aware of everything. She's very connected spiritually to things around her, so she understands things. And she's the one that sort of takes care of the family in more ways than one, and tries to protect them and prevent things from happening. So that was, you know, kudos to Mr. McDowell for creating that character. Because everyone else, it's like they say they're scared of things because the adults, they went there as children. But they act like it's not a big deal. That they experienced these terrors, or maybe like, they were like, oh, it was bad dreams, it was whatever.
Yeah.
When we were kids, but it's like, you're still coming here all the time? You come here like every summer? I don't understand. This is a scary ass place.
So when you're reading a book, I mean, do you sit there and actually get scared as if you're watching a movie and kind of getting scared and jumping?
No. Reading
Okay.
a book is for me, it's not the
Yeah.
same. I remember when I was in school, and I remember this is when I was like in elementary, my friend said, my sister read Goosebumps and screamed out loud, and I was like, she's doing too much.
Yeah.
Clearly. Like, who screams while you're reading a
So
book?
I will say this: there was a time I did react to a book. It wasn't a horror book, but I mean, I read Hunger Games, and something happened in that, and I just kind of held my mouth. I mean, put my hand over my mouth,
yeah.
and I was just like, oh.
Yes.
But I didn't like scream out loud, and then like,
Yes.
yeah,
I've definitely had those moments, and I think reading this book, when the creature sort of reveals itself, I didn't like cover my mouth, but I just felt like, ooh. I have a physical reaction. I don't make a lot of noise. I don't carry on, but because it's all about your imagination. I think it's what you see in your head.
yeah,
And I think maybe that's why a lot of people are disappointed sometimes when a movie's adapted from a book and it's like, ugh, that's not how I saw it. But sometimes for me, I'm like, this is way better than I imagined it. I couldn't imagine shit. I thought they were in a warehouse. Look at this beautiful castle.
so they never made this into a movie or anything?
No, they didn't. And I think it would be difficult to adapt into a movie. I would see it more as like a mini-series.
Okay.
Like
a
at
two-parter,
least 2 or
yeah.
3 parts.
Yeah.
And I think even the book is separated into part 1, part 2, part 4 is when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And still people are just like, it's fine, we're going back to the island. I'm like, no, we're done with the island. Don't you remember what happened to Little Penny? I think that's her name. I think that's her name. But it's creepy. It's definitely, the imagery that is described. I enjoy it. So I'm definitely going to check out his other works. He also has some, this is like totally unrelated to horror, but Anne told me that he wrote under a pseudonym. Is that what they're called? A pen name?
Yeah.
And he wrote a detective series. She said it was like pre-Will and Grace, like a man and a woman, a gay man and a woman, and they were friends, and they're like solving mysteries
crimes together.
But it's sort of like a comedy, and I think they're called like Cobalt, and they're named after colors. So I was like, I'm gonna check that out. It sounds like
nice.
fun. So Michael McDowell, thank you. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I just read he did the screenplay for Nightmare for Christmas as well.
Oh, I think.
Did he do that? Did I
Maybe
read that right? Yeah.
I think it was a woman.
Was it?
Maybe he did a version, because I know there was a
Probably,
different
okay.
draft. Yeah. And Anne told me that he did some other he did some other screenplays, but I think other people came in later and like, how they do, they'll rewrite things. So that was the first book, and that was probably the scary book, I'll say. The other book I read was more like back in January. It's been a while, but I remember it, and I haven't had anyone to talk about it with, so I'm going to talk to you guys.
Well, this is what I'm here for. Yes, tell me all about it.
So after I got my new Kindle for Christmas, thanks Mom, thanks Dad. Gotta thank both of them. They'd be like, oh,
yeah,
okay. So I just really felt like, I want to read some gay romance novels and see if I can even stomach them, because any romance novels are usually written and it's like, this is terrible. Let me just skip to the sex. Oh, the sex is terrible too. I'm not going to read this. So I read like one short story before this and I was like, well, that was hot. But it was only like 10 pages. I was like, I want to read an actual book.
Yeah.
So I found this one, and I was like, it's got supernatural stuff going on.
Oh, so this is a horror book too. Okay.
Yeah, no. You thought I was just going to...
Hey!
Like a romance novel? No.
Okay.
It has to have horror in it.
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't know where this was going, but it sounded
It's
like we're about to...
and it's horror.
Okay.
And there's really not even that much sex in it. Disappointing. But it's called His Touch of Ice, and it's book 1 of Chronicles. So I'm not sure if he's gonna write more. I've forgotten his name. I don't write anything down, as you guys can see. I just like to go fly by night and piss people off. But it's part of the Calder Chronicles. His name is Kody something. And you're going to look it up.
I am going to look it up.
You are the scholar, and you're such a great person.
You said Touched by Ice.
His Touch of Ice.
Oh, His Touch of Ice. Okay.
His Touch of Ice.
Give me a moment.
You can read it for free on Amazon. By the way, you cannot read the Elementals for free. I got it for $8 on Amazon. Ebook. Do it.
Kody Boye.
Kody Boye. And I was like, Boyd? No.
Yeah, no, Boye. B-O-Y-E.
Kody Boye.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
Ooh, this cover. Okay, yeah, if you're listening, look up the cover of His Touch of Ice. This literally looks like a romance novel.
I mean, it is.
But it's got these darker tones and colors. I mean, I can see where it could possibly give off sort of a supernatural horror element.
And it's not like, it's not really like horror, but it has supernatural characters, you know.
I bet you this character looks nothing like this dude on the cover.
What?
I said, I bet you this dude looked nothing like this guy on the cover. Did the character in the...
Yes.
Did he really? Oh.
I mean, as he described him, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes, that's how he described him. So, you know, the main character... I think the main character is based off of the writer, maybe. I think he's... Because it's written in first person.
Yeah.
So, you know, he meets this guy at the bar, and they hook up. This is how our life works, everyone who's not gay. We just hook up with people at bars, and we're whores. Absolutely. No, but I think he even writes, he's like, you know, I don't do this all the time. I don't hook up with people. So he meets this guy, and he's handsome, and he has these weird, crazy blue eyes that almost seem to glow, and they have a weird ring around them. They go back to his place. I think I skipped a chapter.
Look at you.
Because I was like, are they going to have sex? Are they going to do this or what? And so I skipped. I was like, all right, finally, we're doing something. I mean, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. But after that, then I did read. I didn't skip anymore after that. So, you know, the first scene was nice. Yes. Got it in. And he quickly develops a relationship with this guy. He gets evicted from his apartment. He can't afford to live there anymore. So the guy's like, you can live with me. I know it's weird. We just met, but, you know, it's cool. And then things escalate very fast because the Calder Chronicles, it's called that for a reason. This guy, his name is Guy.
Oh, Jesus.
Which pissed me off, by the way. I was like, you're calling him Guy?
Really?
Couldn't you have called him, like... I mean, I would have even accepted John.
Yeah.
But Guy, he's a guy. Yes, you are a guy. He is a Calder, which is... Maybe the writer made this up, or if it is actual Norwegian mythology, but these are ice people. They can freeze things.
Like the White Walkers.
Probably.
Okay.
I ain't got that far on the show. I haven't gotten to that season yet. It's like the next season. I'm supposed to see them.
Yeah.
But someone breaks into his apartment, and he comes home, and, you know, this guy has him at gunpoint, so he's like...
Did he know he could do that?
No. Well,
so
yes. He did. Yes.
Okay, he knew
Guy knew
he
he could do that.
But he didn't want to tell anybody.
But Kevin, I think that's his name, Kevin.
Okay.
I'm so terrible. I don't know what I'm talking about. But Kevin is like, oh, shit. What just happened? And he's like...
It's Jason.
What? Kevin, Jason, Barry.
Yes, Jason. Yeah. Okay.
White boy names.
Yeah, right.
It's all the same. So, Jason. I just didn't think it was Jason.
I know.
Well, you know, it's like Kody, Kevin. I thought.
Yeah.
You know.
No.
This is a biographical tale. I'm sure. This is how he met his husband. Mm-hmm. His husband freezes people. So after that, he's like, shit, well, we gotta go. Do you trust me? And so they bounce. And then suddenly they're like on the run from the law because there have been a string of murders by the lake. This is set in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And people have been found, like, frozen. And it's like, what the hell? It's like hot as hell outside. I don't understand how this is happening. So he's like, oh my god, this is the person that's been killing people, but I do really like him, so I'm gonna run off.
Oh, but I do really like him, so I'll just date a killer.
So then they go to his family's secret compound, way out in the middle of nowhere, and then werewolves are introduced.
There are werewolves?
Yes, there are werewolves. They mention vampires, but there's no vampires in this one. They're probably in the next one. They finally have sex again when they get to the compound. I mean, it's like, damn. I thought this was going to be like every other job.
This is very Dante's Cove right now.
Don't mention that to me.
Oh, I love Dante's Cove.
Won't do it. And since he's brought an outsider to the home, his father's upset. His father's apparently like centuries old, and I guess they just don't age. Perfect people. Everyone there is beautiful, of course, and they all have the weird glowing eyes.
Yeah.
They can freeze people with ice. But it was just a fun book.
Yeah.
And I read it for free, so...
Was this categorized more on the erotic side of it or more on the horror side of it?
I would say, it's just more on like the supernatural side, because there's only probably one scary moment where he does meet a werewolf.
Yeah.
And he almost, bites the dust.
Interesting.
But it's gay, fiction, fantasy, and I specifically sought this out because I wanted to read a gay romance novel that had supernatural horror elements to it, because there's a lot of novels like that are romance novels, but they are geared towards heterosexual relationships. So I had a lot of fun reading it. I am going to eventually probably try out the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say
books.
Because this is a book series, I would assume that the world expands a little bit and we learn more than just the two of them. And
I'm purposely leaving the ending out. I've given you a lot of information, but I'm going to leave the ending out.
Just in case anybody was interested, yes.
I would say for both of these books, for the Elementals and for...
Elementals sounds really cool. I would love to see that as a movie. That sounds really interesting.
The characters are written so well, it's like you have so much work done for you. If you're an actor reading the screenplay, it's like, well, I'll read the book. It's like, yes, I have so much rich character development here.
And some of these directors, when did they take place? Do you remember? Was there an actual date they took place, or was it like sort of present day when the book came out?
The Elementals, I'm pretty sure it took place present day, 1981.
Because there is a lot of movies coming out now, especially in horror, where they are doing period pieces. Yes. Well, I shouldn't say period pieces, but they tend to love to take place back in the day. They love having this stuff in the 80s now, sometimes, or just have the look. Of some of a place in the past, even though it does take place in the present, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and the Elementals works just like when we were talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's in an era where there are no cell phones, and actually they don't even have a phone. Period. When they're on the island.
Yeah.
No phones.
So you got to go out and really know where your people.
They would have to set it in that time period to make it work. But I will say about both of these books, the way that they end. It is very fast. Yeah. Because the Elementals was a slow burn, and then they make everything happen. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel. And just the sort of the epilogue, I didn't know how I felt about that either. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it without saying too much. And then with this one, everything happened very fast. So it almost, at the end, it was like, it was suddenly like a shoot 'em up underworld movie. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck just happened? But it was still fun. I really enjoyed it. I had a blast reading it. So.
Do you happen to remember how many pages? Well, not by the exact, but estimate, how big were these books?
The Elementals was and I read them both on my Kindle, so I can't say page wise.
That's true. Yeah.
So the Elementals I think was 3 something.
Okay.
I think. And then same for His Touch of Ice, it was about 2 something. And it was a pretty quick read.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But I also enjoy supporting queer artists. Yeah. And
I'm sure in the future too, because again, we don't want this just to be a one-time thing. Yeah. I think books, especially in the horror genre, should be brought up more and brought into light. If anything, we'll have an episode where, books become adaptations. They don't necessarily have to be gay, but we'll talk about Stephen King on here and all that other stuff. This won't be the only time we hear about books, but I'm sure there are book readers out there who would like to hear your opinion on those, so that's good that you enjoy books, because I wouldn't be able to contribute. But
and I would like to add to our listeners, if you know of any queer authors of color that you could recommend to me, I would greatly appreciate it, because I feel like that's something that's lacking. It's something that it was hard for me to find. Yeah. Because and in this book, he did specify when someone was of a different ethnicity, which it kind of made me cringe just a little bit. Yeah. And I'm talking about His Touch of Ice. It was just like this Latin man. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
So,
we'll definitely post something on Facebook and Twitter.
yeah,
and
I would love to hear.
Encourage you guys
if
to
you know of anything, because
any
it was
kind
hard to find.
Any recommendations would be great. Yeah, that's actually an awesome idea. Yeah, we'd like to hear if you've read any that sort of has some supernatural element to it. You know, recommend a book that you enjoy, some horror one that just scared the crap
Or
out
even
of
if you
you.
think it's cheesy,
Yeah,
I'll still give it a whirl just because I'm curious to know.
yeah,
It's like, yes, I want to see gay people of color in these supernatural situations. You know, I want to know. I want to see just how different people write. You know, different styles. I want to know.
yeah.
And I can't find.
Or just an easy read for me. Like, I'll take a good horror, scary book any day. So if there's a good one that's not like 1,000 pages, then I might give it a whirl. So yeah, we definitely like to hear which ones you guys like out there.
Yes. So anyway, that was my book tip. We'll have some more. You know, I won't shove it down your throat. But what about you? Anything new? Like, doesn't it be book related, but just, like anything.
Well, I did see some movies these past weeks. I'll bring one of those up. I've talked about it on our Instagram page before. This is actually one of my favorite movies of the year, even though it didn't come out this year. I really enjoyed it, and I just can't stop talking about it. It's a South Korean film called Train to Busan. And apparently this film is kicking ass over in Korea. I believe it's one of their, if not the highest grossing box office film that they have.
Really?
And it's also the first time that they've ever done a zombie movie or maybe even a horror movie. I may have to check my facts, but there's just been some talk that they're kind of getting into this horror aspect because usually, Japan usually does the whole horror thing.
Right.
But they decided to take a crack at a zombie movie, and they did an amazing job. And so Train to Busan is basically about a father and daughter who don't really have the best relationship. The dad is always working, and he's, I believe, a hedge fund sort of type of white-collar guy. Mom's out of the picture. She actually lives in a different city, Busan, actually. And the daughter is just always home, doesn't have any parents around, always deals with the nanny, and, just loves for the affection of her dad, and he's never home. Well, the daughter's had it. This little girl, she's like, I just want to live with my mom. Take me to her. I'll just live with her. And the dad's like, no, I want you here, blah, blah, blah. But he wants to make her happy, so he decides to, take her by train. Meanwhile, there is some virus that goes airborne out of nowhere and just changes the entire city that they're currently in. I forget exactly which city. I think it's in Seoul. Yeah, they're in Seoul. And let me just say that I've seen my share of zombie movies, and there are times when they'll do something different, or they'll change the way that zombies act, or, whatever, to make it interesting, and I think those are great. This movie came out with something that I have not seen that much, and they made it so good. So, just think about the zombies that you saw in World War Z, on how quick, rapid, how crazy they were, and there was just tons of them, but sort of mixed in with, like Dawn of the Dead. They were super violent and dangerous.
Yeah.
And they had these crazy looks to them. And it was just this high octane, just very energy-filled thrill ride. So basically, they decided to get on the train, and on the way, they noticed that the whole entire city is just turned to shit, and it's starting to spread everywhere. And even though the outbreak is on the train, it's practically the safest place that they could be. So the whole thing takes place on a train. So I've said this a couple times to a couple of my friends, sometimes I believe that the best movies out there are ones that take place within 24 hours.
Oh.
I love that time span because it gets straight to the point. They don't waste any time. They they give you character development in very interesting ways. And it's not like the other ways are bad. It's just I like when you're just in the shit of it and you learn these characters throughout the story instead of getting a backstory and then putting them in dangerous situations. Because again, what's cool about the horror genre is that when you are scared, that's when your true self comes out. And that's when you learn more about yourself and everything. And even from a third person watching, you learn about these characters and you figure out exactly who it is that they are. And some people who are nice may not be so nice when it comes to protecting themselves or the ones that they love. So, again, the zombies were just so creepy. They all of a sudden turn into this, like, circus contortionist, like, zombies. So they're, like, twisting their backs all around. They got their head, tilted, like, Homegirl from The Ring. How she's all disjointed and stuff. And they just charge at you. They don't waste any time. And I think the rules with the zombies on how they operate is really interesting too. And I don't even want to give that away. That's how interesting this movie is. But what's also great about this movie is, did you ever see Inside Out?
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember all the 5 elements. You got me on elements now. You know the 5 emotions that she has in her head?
Yeah.
You feel all 5 of them. Every last one. Anger, you feel sadness, you feel joy, you feel disgusted, and you fear. Like, you feel it all. This movie gave all the feels, and every character is interesting. You care about every single person except for one guy, and I won't mention, but you'll know who he is when you see him, because he's just a dick. But every character you just want to see live. Everyone has a reason to live. Nobody does any stupid, horrible decisions. It's just an amazing film. And it is subtitled, but I will say watching a horror movie subtitled is not that bad because, yes, you feel a little bit distracted when you're watching, reading, captions, but it doesn't take away from the thrill. I think you can still get engaged and read at the same time. And there were a couple times where I was genuinely creeped out. It's actually a really fun film. So, Train to Busan, it came out last year, but it's currently on Netflix right now, and I recommend that everybody watch it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think we've arrived at that time.
Yes, folks, time to say goodbye.
Once again, but don't worry. We'll be back.
We will definitely be back next week.
Maybe tonight you'll dream about it.
So, again, we'll just keep saying this at the end of every... Oh, no, we're not done. We have one more thing.
What?
We have to do our weekly segment.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh my god, totally forgot about this.
So sorry.
Okay, no, well...
False.
Okay, so this week of Bitch Really, so first of all, if you are just listening to this for the first time, every week we will close out the show with a movie where a character did something completely dumb to get themselves killed. Last week it was Sarah Michelle Gellar and I Know What You Did Last Summer. This one is a 2005 movie called Saw 2. Now, you might be thinking which one of those idiots I'm thinking about, but I think most of you know it involves the character Addison Corday, and this is towards the end of the movie.
She got a last name?
Yeah, I know she got her last name, yeah. So this is towards the end of the movie where they're coming to a close. They don't know what else to do with them, so they just got to kill them off real quickly. And this woman needs a cure, obviously, because they've all been gassed with poison, and everywhere there's like an antidote somewhere in a trap. So Addison sees this box that has the needle with the cure in it, and I believe above it is a key to open the box. Now, the only way that you can get into this box is if you stick your arm through these 2 holes that are sort of, I guess, covered with these glass shards, where if you put your arm through, you're going to cut yourself, not only putting it in, but you can't necessarily just grab your arm out without getting super cut.
It was metal.
It was,
and it doesn't
metal.
Look like it because it's like it's flat. But then once you reach in, it opens up.
That's right.
And then you're locked into the
So
razors.
she puts her arm in, And she noticed that it's cutting her, and she tries to reach for the needle. But this trick decides that no, I can't reach it on here, my arm's stuck and I don't want to cut anymore. Let me just use my other arm, put it through the other hole, and try and reach for it. Not only does she not get the needle, but her arms are stuck now. She's got both arms trapped in this box, and she's just bleeding all over the place in her arms, which is the best place to cut yourself if you want to die fast. So, I mean, like...
So, kids, safety in numbers. If they had worked together, that wouldn't have happened.
But, Addison, really, bitch? Did you really think that that idea was going to work? I just think it's hilarious every time I see it. But it's known as one of the dumbest things that characters could do in a movie.
Yeah.
So, salute to you, Addison.
All right. Now, we're ready to say, Auf Wiedersehen. I don't speak German. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
So, remember to go on our Facebook page, tell us what you thought of this episode, leave any comments, any reviews, make sure to rate us and share us. We definitely enjoy you listening every week. Thank you so much for tuning in every week, and we will see you next time.
On Bitch, I Ain't
Bitch, I Ain't Scared.